Did you get the variety pack with all the meats?
I wish I did.
Oh, it's like turkey. There's beef. There's venison. It's all sorts of spices and stuff. Jeff's like, all right, I'm out.
Okay, we can just do. We're live here, man. We can do whatever we want.
We are.
This is the internet. There's no rules
all right.
here.
Hello, Reid Fowler. Welcome back, Geoff Ulrich. I am Emerson Lotzia. This is a Wednesday edition of the Slate. We'll talk a lot of golf. We'll talk some football here. We're taking you up till about 5:55 or so. I got to go downstairs and feed my neighbor's hairless 18-year-old toothless cat. So that will be an experience. Maybe if it comes out to say hello, I will post a picture of this creature. Anywho, here we go. Before we look ahead to week 2, how are you guys doing today, by the way? Is everyone doing all right?
Doing fantastic, man.
Doing all right. Geoff, and I don't know if you guys caught the sweat, but Geoff hit like 14 overs. The guy just thinks he's extremely bullish on week 2.
I just woke up. Emerson, I was in a good mood.
Dangerous.
Who wants to pick unders? Who wants to be the Drury?
People want to win money.
Edlow of the world is just like,
that's true. You're right, Geoff.
This
You're right.
game's probably going to go under.
You're right.
We're picking overs this week, Reid. There's a lot of good matchups, and honestly, you look at this slate for NFL week 2. It's going to be a high scoring week. There's no doubt in my mind. It's going to be one of the highest scoring weeks of the year. There's a lot of good matchups. So,
well, dude, I will say this: there were some major upsets in week 1. I think we had multiple offensive shootouts. So I think it was the league year is off to a hot start. We had a ton of impact plays as well by rookies. Reid, what would your just real quick looking back on week 1? What was your biggest surprise?
Well, I think sticker shock. It's Green Bay, but it makes sense, right? It makes sense that you have no preseason, no off season. Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of things going on right now. It's similar. Not to the T, but what we saw with Tampa Bay last year, where it started off a little bit slow because we didn't have an offseason, we didn't have a preseason. But a guy like Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, I'm not worried. That defense I'm worried about, but I'm not worried. But other than that, I mean, some of these rookie wide receivers, Geoff, Devonta Smith, Jamar Chase, these guys played well, right? Usually the historic sentiment or thought is that rookie wide receivers, it takes them a while, and then year 2 is the breakout. Well, It's not that case anymore. We saw these guys early on have good games and be part of the wins, not just like have good statistical games, but be part of the wins as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, you made a great call on Jamar Chase. It's just the preseason overreaction. Like Jamar Chase was going to be part of the game plan. They weren't going to bench him. Like Auden Tate was playing over him, all this stuff. Auden Tate's been there for like 5 years. He's not playing over Jamar Chase week 1. So it's a great call by you. I made a similar call with Devonta Smith, so I guess I'll give myself a pat on the back. People were just kind of overlooking that. That's what I do best, I mean, quite frankly. But Reid, it's a good point, man. Like, I mean, there was so much good value with the rookies week 1. A little bit tougher week 2, though. Salaries are tougher. Yeah.
So within which proven weekly stud do you think that you'll pay up for then, Geoff, in main slate Sunday?
Yeah, so main slate, I mean, I'm really there. Like I said, there are some monster games, and it just comes down to like some of the matchups. I think that going back to DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray is absolutely fine, man. I mean, that Minnesota secondary, they were like bottom 10 yards per attempt last week. They let Jamar Chase go for over 100 yards on 5 catches. T. Higgins was doing well too. Like, I think 2 or 3 touchdowns to wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins going to eat that secondary alive, man. So I don't mind going back there at all. But you've got other matchups: San Francisco, Philly. That San Francisco defense looks like I think you just go right back to Devonta Smith, quite frankly. And as far as another stud, like a different position, David Montgomery against the Bengals, I'm very interested in.
Reid, what about you? Someone who stood out to you week 1, you think you'll continue to ride with in week 2, DFS?
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray is a great call. This guy could easily be the quarterback 1 of the entire year, right? This guy just plays amazing football. And when you take a look at that Minnesota team, that's why I think that's going to be a sneaky over. Maybe not too sneaky, right? Because we know about Arizona, we know about Minnesota. Like the defense, I don't think I think Mike Zimmer I think the the jury might be out on Mike Zimmer. I don't know, what's really going to happen with him at the end of this year, but you see the over under here at 50.5. I think this shoots out. Like the games that we talked about this morning on the sweat, right? The 54s of the world. I think those, on paper, they seem like easy overs because both of those teams, you can get a high scoring game, right? The Falcons and Buccaneers. We know the Buccaneers, over under is at 52. We know they're just going to throw the ball over the yard. Dallas and the Chargers at over unders at 55. I'm much more comfortable going here at this Arizona over under because Minnesota's defense, in my mind, especially their pass rush, hasn't been good for the last couple of years. And that was really one of their calling cards is Daniel Hunter. These guys got to the quarterback, Emerson Griffin. That's not the case anymore. And we know that too. A guy like Kirk Cousins can get you, upwards in the 30 points in the Minnesota team, right? He's not a guy anymore that's just going to dunk and dink. He's actually going to get Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen the ball, and Dalvin Cook's an absolute monster in the PPR game. So if there's a guy that I want to go back to and just that overall squad, it's the Arizona team, but I don't mind bringing it back with Minnesota as well.
Yeah. And Kirk Cousins is great. Sorry. Kirk Cousins is great in garbage time. Which is great for the over. So I agree. That one's really appealing.
I'm looking at the Vikings here, 0-8 against the spread in their previous 8 games too. 0-5 straight up in their past 5
Pretty
September
bad,
games.
Man. Wow.
Yeah, that's terrible. So yeah, I missed the sweat this morning. You were hammering the over on that Falcons Bucks game, Geoff.
Well, I mean, I think of the 4 we talked about, that was probably my least favorite for the over, but it's like that's probably a game I just won't touch as far as totals go. I mean, I tend to bet spreads more than totals anyways, but I still don't know how you'd be comfortable betting the under there. Like I do agree that is one of the bigger totals I could see having a better shot at the under just because Atlanta's offense was so bad week 1, but like, it just feels like an overreaction to say, oh, Atlanta scored 6 points week 1. They they're only going to score 10 points against the Bucks. Like it's still Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley. I mean, they could easily put up 20 points and 20 points probably going to be enough because, that Bucks offense just looked really, really in sync week 1. So that's a game where, you could probably convince me to just lay off or maybe even switch to the under, but it's still not really one I'm like super bullish on. I do like the one Reid brought up, and I really like the San Francisco Eagles game. I think those both have slightly lower totals around 50. And I think there's way better chance. You've got 2 good offenses going up against each other, fast-paced teams, which is what you want when you're looking at overs.
So Reid, if you like that San Fran game, what's the impact of Mostert now being out for the season?
Well, like what you see when lines move. Yeah. What do you see that like really? Well, I think it's a 2-part response to Emerson. I think when you see lines move, it's because guys in the secondary go down and then guys in the trenches, right? Offensive, defensive linemen go down. Those are the things that move the lines. We get a guy like Saquon Barkley for the Giants go down, or OBJ, for instance, or a primetime wide receiver, and the lines don't really move that much. Now you include San Francisco, who has 15 running backs that are essentially the same person, right? This is what Shanahan does. He gets the same type of running back. And the reason being is that you can get them cheaper, right? You can get them probably 50 cents on the dollar because they're either UDFAs or they're 6th, 7th round picks. And then you can bring them in the fold like what we saw with Elijah Mitchell, and he can get you exactly what you would want from a guy like Raheem Mostert. So I don't think it makes a big deal. The other thing too, guys, about these 2 teams, they're both top 10 on offensive line. I think Kelsey, the center at Philadelphia, is probably the weakest link, which is weird to say because he usually is a strong link for this team. But I think he's getting a little bit, it past his quote unquote prime.
He's getting old.
He's getting old. Yeah, I don't want to say that, but both of these offensive lines are solid. That's what you really like about this over as well, is that if this becomes a shootout, you're going to see points. You're going to see points scored. And I'm in agreement with Geoff here. If I had to choose, one of these games, this one, I'm a little bit more confident hitting the over. But yeah, both of these teams are in a great spot, and especially with Jalen Hurts at the quarterback position. That's another one of Geoff's calls. I think you take a look at what he can do throughout this entire season. And again, the week 1 overreaction, but also preseason guys overreact to coach talk. They were talking this guy out of the Philly locker room for all of the offseason. Like, oh, is he going to be the starter? That's Poppycock.
I know. I'm so happy Jalen Hurts had a big week one. And
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have a big season, man. I mean, you watched the game. Oh, it was like a masterful game. And I get it, it was Atlanta, man, but move it like outside the pocket, unstoppable, accurate on deep throws, willing to take some shots downfield, such a smart runner. Like, I hope he continues, man. I hope 77% completion rate week one for Jalen Hurts. Oh, hope it continues all year.
I mean, for sure, it's going to be interesting to see what he does as, for an encore against a much more difficult front seven there too with San Francisco. And another note here on the sports betting side, guys, Philly has been kind to bettors, owning a 5-1 ATS record in their last 6 games at home. So it's something to
in a lot of those games, you had Jalen Hurts starting. So, just to point that out.
And he's doing this all with Gardner Minshew breathing down his neck.
Yeah, man. One thing to note, though, Emerson, and just everyone who's listening too, a lot of these stats, though, when you take them historically, you also got to take into consideration who that team was during those stats, right? Like the Houston stats might be a red herring because that was all with Deshaun Watson, right? It's like Deshaun Watson can make nothing, right? Or make something out of nothing, especially late in the games for a backdoor cover. Tyrod Taylor, probably not the same. Same thing with Philadelphia Eagles, right? Historically, if you take a long range of data, it was Nick Foles, it was Carson Wentz, it wasn't Jalen Hurts. So if you see numbers that you don't potentially like, don't read too much into it, because this is an entirely new offense and an entirely new front office, or excuse me, coaching staff as well.
Yeah. So when I look here and I see the Niners 3-7 ATS in the last 10 games, you think, okay, well, most of those are without Jimmy G,
Yeah, exactly. It was with Nick Mullins and CJ. Jeff's favorite, Beathard.
Tomorrow night, dudes, is when week 2 is the whole party is going to get started here. It's going to be the Giants. It's going to be the Washington football team. And I don't know. It's Barkley is back. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Saquon Barkley.
It's an ugly game. You should cringe.
It is an ugly game. There's also, I know, man, I'm staying positive here. There's also Heineke is under center now with Fitzmagic with his hip injuries, expected to miss about like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Who would you captain in the showdown here? There's a fat Millie maker, I believe, available on DraftKings. Yeah, Eamon, I was trying not to hurl. Jeff, what about you, man?
So I would stay away from the New York Giants pass receivers. Spread the ball out week 1. It's a really tough matchup against Washington. I guess you could make a case for Daniel Jones. Maybe he gets there in garbage time and he does run a bit, but and I'm not touching Saquon because it's just questionable to play. I mean, he looked terrible week 1. I think you got to go Washington. It's either kind of Heineke, Antonio Gibson, 20 carries. Washington ran 49 plays last week, 20 carries for Gibson. That's really, really nice. And then you could go deep on Washington as well. And I guess you can kind of go deep with the Giants, but like a guy like, I've lost my train of thought. Not Kadarius Toney. Diami Brown played every snap for Washington, 2,100. I actually think he's got like captain capability because you just need him to hit a touchdown. And if he does, he's 2,100 in the captain spot. So Diami Brown played every snap for Washington week 1.
Reid, captain in the showdown. Who do you want?
I will, like, if you take this game where I think the over-under, I think the game total is like 40.5, something that, very, very low. Usually what we see with both of these teams when they match up, right, is a low over-under. Having said that, though, when you take a look at teams that didn't hit the under in their previous games, both of them, the over actually usually hits, right? Because it's an overreaction. The public wants to say, oh, both of these teams, right, they were like, they both hit the under in their previous games. So of course, right, it's got to repeat itself. Well, that's not usually the case. So having said that, like if you take a look, I'm going all kickers. No, like I'm not actually too worried about this offense from a like precipitous downfall like it used to be in Washington. I think Taylor Heineke has been in the system for a while. I would love Ryan Fitzpatrick because I have many shares of Terry McLaurin. So I want Ryan Fitzpatrick as much as possible. But I think if you take a look at Washington's offense as well, Logan Thomas, I think, is viable. This guy is a target monster. He's like Darren Waller light. And that's saying a lot, right? I'm not saying the skill is similar, but this guy just gets peppered with targets, and he's a big body. We know that a guy like Taylor Heineke likes to run around, and if he does, a guy that's 10, 15 yards from line of scrimmage is usually the guy that Heineke wants to go to, unless he's throwing it to Terry McLaurin and he's making some circus catch, in the second half. Guy doesn't get targeted all the first. Anyway, I digress. Logan Thomas is someone, and look, Sterling Shepard, guys, like Sterling Shepard has been much maligned this offseason. He is still like the number one. Evan Ingram hasn't practiced again all week. Doesn't look like he's going to make it.
Oh yeah, I think Eamon mentioned earlier in our chat. I think he's been ruled out already.
Okay, perfect. Then Sterling Shepard, like I'm not too scared of this Washington secondary. The Washington front seven can get to you, but if that's the case, a guy out of the slot, if you're Daniel Jones, you're going to look to a guy like Sterling Shepard. So I'm not afraid. I think Logan Thomas, Sterling Shepard are two guys that I wouldn't mind right there at that 11-1, that $12,000 mark for captain.
All right. Well, how afraid, Jeff, should people be putting and spending that money on Saquon Barkley in the captain spot? I know he's back, but it's going to take some time for his old self to reemerge. The Giants' run game was essentially non-existent last week, and it's a long ways away from being at its peak.
10 carries week 1, 48% of the snaps. Now you've got a short week. It's just such a disaster. Like if you have him in season long for some reason,
it's
a disaster.
Yeah, it sucks. It's the worst.
For some reason.
And well, I don't know. Anyways, that's another conversation. But
right.
Like for this, I guess he's a interesting flex play because no one's going to play him. I think that most people have that attitude, like the attitude that I have. Like this is a really tough matchup. He's probably not going to play very much. He might not even play at all. So, but if he does start, this is a big game. Like the Giants don't want to go 0-2 and lose to a division opponent. The coaches could definitely be like, okay, he looks good. We got to win this game. So I'm definitely like, this is a game where I mentioned some plays. De'Ami Brown, I'm definitely in on. Heineke is a must play for me. I think Antonio Gibson, but on the other side of the ball, I want to see some injury report status on Saquon, because I think you could make a good argument where, you make it a couple lineups. Put Saquon in the captain one. He's going to be low owned, man. And if he goes off on like a 70-yard touchdown jaunt or something, like, wow, you're going to be in a terrific spot. But it's super risky. The easy answer here is just fade him, and that's probably the correct answer. But wait till we get as much information as possible. So
so should you also have some exposure maybe to Devontae Booker in some of your lineups at all?
Booker is he's a good pass catcher. This Giants O-line is just really bad. That's the problem. Like if Booker gets there, it's probably going to be as a receiver. Just everything running the ball was terrible. And you've got another top 5 defense coming to town with Washington. Well, they're going to Washington, but my point remains, like, I just don't see the Giants running the ball much. I think Booker is in play at 2,800 because he's so cheap. And I think that if they get behind, they'll probably rest Barkley anyways. So I think Booker's definitely in play. No Evan Ingram, so it's an extra targets too. But, I'm not expecting much from the Giants run game.
Fowler, what about you, dude? Good value play? You want somewhere else in the showdown?
I think we need to spend a lot of time on Antonio Gibson. I think this guy, if you can, I don't think anybody is willing and able out there is to try and get this guy if you're in season-long leagues. You saw what he was able to do. Like he is a 3-down bell cow back right now. We did not see J.D. McKissic at all. That's what we saw a lot last year. And that might've been because Alex Smith was the quarterback and they needed someone like J.D. McKissic to get 11 catches for 40 yards last year. That wasn't the case. It was Antonio Gibson, and he had pop, and he was dealing in the passing game. He's someone that I'm extremely bullish on moving forward, just because of what he's going to allow this offense to do. He's going to allow them to have a full-fledged, continuous back out there. And look, 20 attempts on 90 yards, 5 targets, and I'm sure he ran, a handful of routes. He lost 2 fumbles, or he fumbled it twice and he lost 1. So that obviously hurt his production. didn't get in the end zone. But I take a look at this line, and you're looking at 23 touches from this guy and 5 targets. That is extremely bullish moving forward. And again, Tyler Heineke back there, I think just points the arrow even further up for Antonio Gibson. So at $9,600, guys, in the flex, he's at, he's 14.4. I think in the flex, yeah, he's 9,600. I was going to say that's wildly mispriced, but I think that's definitely in play.
Yeah, it's second Thursday night game of the season. Here we are, baby. We got the Giants and Washington football team already. So good for everybody. It's
a backup quarterback.
God, Fitzpatrick.
Again.
I said on this show last week, just please don't get hurt, Fitzpatrick.
I'm glad for Taylor Heineke, though. I mean, he's an athletic QB. I don't think it's terrible for Washington's future. I mean,
no, they signed him to a contract last year in the offseason, right?
I remember he played great against Tampa, man.
Wasn't he in like a geometry class or something 2 years ago? Wasn't the story of him? And then they kind of pulled him out. And they said, come play football for us. Yeah, isn't that him?
I don't know. A geometry.
He was in school or something.
This guy, like an astrologist.
Someone confirm this.
The next Galileo. I don't know.
Did you say geometry or astrology?
I'm just taking it a step further.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I was gonna say astrology is even cooler.
Who knows, man?
Who cares about geometry?
Taylor Heineke sounds like an interesting guy, though. So.
Yeah, he certainly does.
I like his over. By the way, last thing, I like his over prop for rushing yards Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What is it?
And are there any other props you
I think
like?
It's 19.5.
Yeah,
I like De'Ami Brown's over prop for receiving too. Again, I mean, the guy's going to be on the field. I think his receiving prop was around 27, 29 yards. I'll take the over on that all day. He averaged 20 yards a catch in college. I mean, it's good. It's going to be out there, man.
Trying to see what there's some pretty good specials on there too. Some week 2 specials. Got your regular quarterback props, touchdown scores, all that fun stuff, man. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about football wise before we turn the page to golf a little bit, because the golf season is back and there are people, as in one person, demanding it on Twitch. So we were going to get to golf here soon.
Talk about the Fortinet Championship.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, here's just one last thing. Well, if unless you have something else, Jeff, is because I think this is something to talk about. I don't think it matters much, but what's going on with Jacksonville?
Oh my God, dude. I was so disappointed when Urban came out today and said, no, like I'm committed. I'm here. It's like, it's such a win when your coach doesn't want to quit after 1 week and 1 loss. Listen, talking to my sources, to my friends and family.
Josh Lambo. Okay, Josh Lambo. People, what does he say?
Yeah, well, he says the girls look good. The Sassy Springers look great. I know, and that was rough for Josh. Anywho, yes, Urban. There are not too many people who are fans of this dude right now. They're not. No. And this was going to be a risk that Khan and company were taking. They knew it. And a big
Khan's
reason
got
they
so
wanted
much money.
I know that. But it's just like and now all these little reports leaking that a guy just flies off the handle way too easily. He's like verbally abusing other coaches, and players just aren't like picking up what this dude's putting down. But could be overreaction. Could be week 1 overreaction. Reid, you come out this week, Trevor Lawrence, just slings it around. He had 3 touchdowns last week. Let's not ignore that, okay? Even though one of them was the last play of the game in garbage time. I'm nervous. Yeah. I'm really nervous.
Well, let's do the ATS bets, because I think I'm leading this between myself and Jeff, the picks against the spread, because we don't want to wait until the last 5 minutes of the show. We need to get through it. So let's do that, Emerson.
Okay. All right.
And you're right about Heineke. This guy was at Old Dominion, I think, in a math class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not astrology clown muffin. Yeah, that's you, buddy. Okay, cool. Yeah, we can do that.
Studying to be the next Michelangelo in a math class.
Okay, cool. All right, you want to start? What is the lead on that? What do you know your record?
I think I am undefeated. No, I have no idea what my record is.
Okay, but I am fairly confident you are beating Jeff after 1 week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Let's
thanks,
go.
pal. Thanks for that.
Hey, love you, mean it. Okay. Giants, Washington football team, Reid. Then these are picks against the spread, everybody.
Right. Washington football team at home at -3.5. I think this defense is strong. So give me Washington 3.5.
Yeah, I'll do the same. I'll take Washington to cover 3. Feels a little disrespectful.
Okay. I'm just going to rip down the DraftKings Sportsbook here. Let's go Patriots, Jets, gentlemen. Go ahead, Jeff.
Patriots, Jets. I will go. Just want to confirm the line. Yeah, I'll take the Pats to cover there as well. I know they're on the road, but Patriots looked really good week 1, and yeah, it's the Jets.
Yeah, this Patriots defense
really good.
They should have won that game. They really should have won that game.
Tua is the next best thing, despite what everyone else thinks. Look, the Patriots, I'll give it to them. The Patriots defense too, right? That probably looked good. That
part
looked good.
of parcel of what looked good. Their defense was really good in week 1.
Robert Saleh is going to get an introduction to how the NFC East goes with Bill Belichick. Right?
Mhm.
Like, this is going to be tough. I like the Patriots points, and also, guys, as a little caveat, the over 42.5.
Okay. Love it, man. Colts. So Carson Wentz looked healthy last week, sweet tea. And then Rams, Stafford. He also looked pretty damn good. And then this total, I think, is skyrocketed, right? Because of how good he looked. I don't know. What do you want to do for a pick here?
One thing weird about the Rams is in games last year, and this might have been golf, I don't know, they did not cover and they lost straight up in games that they should have won, right? This, like, we get this weird feeling, but this is a new unit. I'm not sold on the Colts. This is why I was so bullish on Seattle last week. I'm not sold on the Colts at all. I'm not sold on Carson Wentz. This defense is not good in Indianapolis. So give me the Rams on the road favorites at -3.5.
Ulrich.
I do not get this line, man. Like, why are we giving Indy any respect with Carson Wentz? They just got hammered by Seattle. At the LA and Seattle, they're like a mirror image of themselves. Good run defense, great quarterbacks. 3.5. Oh my God. Like, it's coming down. Give me the Rams all day here.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Then Ulrich, take me to Texans. They're 1-0, and then the Browns were hanging in there for the most part with KC leading at halftime.
Yeah, great job by the Texans. Amazing week 1. Made everybody look stupid, including me. They're going to get hammered here. I'll take the favorite again, and I know that's like 4 favorites for me, but Nick Chubb is going to run all over this defense, and you're going to see the Texans really come out here.
What do you think, Fowler?
Yeah.
12 and a half, dude. 12 and a half.
Not sold on Jacksonville. I was the only one on this panel.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were. There you go. Okay.
This panel,
the
panel consists of one or more people. We know this panel can be one or more people. Actually, that's not true, Emerson. It can be one.
No,
person.
it's not.
Yeah, because a pair is more than one. You don't have to be. You can be a one-person panel. Panel isn't. It's not a quantity. It's just a thing. Anyway,
wait.
I digress.
Not true. Anyhow,
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt might be viable too in the flex or season long. He might be viable as well in DFS because he might get a lot of run in this game. Houston's defense is garbage when it comes to defending the run. Houston is going to struggle against the run. I'm trying to be nicer this season, guys. But yeah, yes. give me Cleveland here at -12.5, especially after a close loss to Kansas City.
Smart move to be nicer this season, Reid. Very smart. This is the largest spread currently on the board here as well. Jeff, did I start with you? I can't remember. You already made your pick, right? Okay, cool. Sorry. I had a brain fart. All right, sounds good. Let's go the Fighting Meg Muffins, the Bills at the Dolphins. Got a little AFC East action here.
Yeah, the Fighting Tuas. The Fighting Meg Muffins against Fighting Tuas. Buffalo. I'm taking Buffalo -3.5. Josh Allen against Dolphins has been great. I think this guy's going to put up points. He's going to put up stats for your fantasy team. I like Buffalo -3.5 on the road. Again, it's a tough place to play in South Beach, but not this early, especially when it gets a little bit colder for these teams. It's tougher to play in South Beach because you get a little distracted. But I like Buffalo coming back after that overreaction. I get it. The Steelers, that line didn't make sense to me. I know Buffalo's coming in strong, but I didn't think that was going to be something that was a smash hit for the Bills. But I do think they win this one by more than 3.5.
I think I saw a crazy tweet earlier, just off the top of my head, that close to 90% of the bets are coming in on Buffalo right now, Jeff.
Yeah.
I I was against the Bills week 1, and you know what? I'm going to go against them again here. I think that the Bills could win this game, obviously, but I 3.5, like I'm kind of just tired of picking against the Dolphins. I always say, oh, they're going to stop getting turnovers. They're going to stop getting these lucky bounces or whatever. And they keep getting them, and they got them again last week. I don't know, man. I kind of mentioned this in preseason. The Bills, it's hard to follow up on a big season sometimes. And I wouldn't be shocked if they started slow. Maybe they get this game. I'm expecting a close game. And if I'm expecting a close game, I got to take the points. 3.5, give me Miami.
Yeah, so it's 91% of spread bets currently on the Bills.
And that really, that right there. If whenever a team gets up that high in the handle, I'm almost always going to take the other side. So I'll do that here as well.
All right, right on. Yeah, public absolutely obsessed with the Bills right now. Everyone around the NFL was obsessed with Jameis Winston last week after coming in. What did he not even pass for like 150 yards, but he had 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Crazy, man.
It is. So the Saints are on the road. They were technically at home last week, but on the road, neutral in Jacksonville. So they are 3.5-point favorites in Carolina. What do you want to do here, Geoff?
I kind of want to, I want to give Carolina some respect, but I'm not going to. I think Sam Darnold got away with things against a really weak secondary last week that he's not going to be able to do anything against the Saints. So I'll take the Saints to cover here.
All right, yeah. Jameis Winston, you taking him to explode again, Reid?
It's like what my trainer says, Emerson, about this game. And well, my trainer just tells me that I would just be good at picking spreads. No, I love Jameis Winston, 148 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. He was fantastic. But when you take a look at Carolina, they gave up 11 pressures or hurries to Sam Darnold, and the Jets could not convert on sacks. Do you know who's going to? Is a New Orleans Saints. If they do the same thing that they did to the Green Bay Packers, it's going to be a long, long day for Sam Darnold. So I'm with Geoff here. Give me the Saints -3.5.
Dude, the backdoor cover by the Lions was an absolute killer for 49ers bettors last week. So now San Fran will head east on the East Coast, taking on the Eagles. I know this is a game we touched on a little bit earlier. It's one that I believe you said you were targeting, Reid. So what do you want to do here?
Yeah, I think San Francisco I think this is both of an overreaction on Philly's side because they played Atlanta. They scored 32 points, and San Francisco getting covered, like the Detroit coming back. I think those two things should not be factored in, as much as they are. And I think the 49ers at -3.5 on the road. And look, Philly is a good, I love Philly. I think they're going to be fun to watch. They got a lot of solid pieces, young, solid pieces on offense, but I think the 49ers are in a different class here, especially when it comes to the Philadelphia defense. I think Shanahan's going to scheme the hell out of this game. Give me the 49ers.
Who do you want here, Ulrich?
I'll take the Eagles at 3.5. Kind of a similar story to the Miami one. I just feel like the Eagles is a lot of the money's coming in on San Francisco. The San Francisco secondary was brutal, man. They just about gave that game away. And now you're coming to a much more confident quarterback / offense. And the Eagles defense played good. You got to give them a little bit of credit for week 1. And I think that at 3.5, that I will give them credit and take them here because I think at the very least it's going to be a close game as well. Kind of like that Miami Buffalo one.
Oh, here we go, Fowler. Your Raiders coming up. They won twice on Monday night, and now they're on the road taking on the Steelers. They're getting 5.5 points there. Do you like the Raiders to cover?
Oh, love it. Give me all. Look, the Raiders, what they do when they have these big wins like this, it's going to be tough, right? The Steelers have the rest advantage. And look, the Raiders can do this. They can really give you. You should have seen the Fowler household at like midnight Eastern. We were happy, then we were sad, and I was telling the missus, this is vintage Raiders football right here. Getting on the 1 yard line, winning, then getting on the 1 yard line, and then throwing an interception. This is vintage. But no, I think the Steelers. I think that's an overreaction to beating the Bills at -5.5. Give me the Raiders at +5.5. That defense was strong with the Raiders. That's been a weak part. The defensive line was solid. And so I do like that. And Brian Edwards, Jeff's been talking about him a lot, and he showed up in that fourth quarter and overtime. This might be a homer pick, but I'm taking the points.
Geoff, could laying 5.5 points here be a little too costly for the Steelers?
Look, Max Crosby had a nice game, but I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say the Raiders defense played good because they allowed the highest yards per carry against.
2 fumbles on Lamar.
Sure, but
it's 2 turnovers. What do you mean? This guy was an MVP
Tyson
2
Williams
years ago.
went 40 yards untouched on 4th down for a touchdown.
That's one play. When they had to stop Baltimore, they stopped them.
Look, it's a Monday night. I just want to say that Raiders game was one of the wildest betting swings for me I've ever had. Player prop, Brian Edwards had 0 catches going into 2 minutes. I thought it was dead. Then he hits on 2 catches. I had the Raiders money line. Absolutely wild. Maybe one of the funnest betting swings I've ever had. But I'm definitely taking the Steelers here. 5.5. There's no way this team is going to be ready. They're still high from the win. Like, dude, they're not even thinking about the Steelers because it's so crazy. So no,
Najee Harris is a good play on the DFS side too.
Yeah, he's going to be high owned.
Jeff, Bears 2-point favorites at home here against the Bengals. This is a tight one. I totally expect bettors to continue to keep an eye on the Bears quarterback situation here. I don't know if Matt Nagy has come out and already said Dalton is starting, but I don't know how you could. I mean, Reid, you were pretty fired up about that on Twitter too.
Yeah, it's I don't get it.
Ridiculous.
I can spend an entire day talking about this, but go ahead. I mean, the argument. I'll just say this: the argument about Patrick Mahomes and these guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers resting, I think is such a lazy argument because you have guys like Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, all of these really Justin Herbert, all of these really good quarterbacks who have come in on the rookie season and have done extremely well. So the argument of this is Mahomes-esque, and if they're comparing Justin Fields to Patrick Mahomes, great. But you can't have that argument and then not also talk about the guys who have done well first year.
Dude, the Bears were in that game. David Montgomery was producing. All it came down to was Andy Dalton screwing things up, to say it nicely. That's what the game came down to. I know Matthew Stafford played well in that game. The Bears were moving the ball. They would have been in it if Justin Fields was at quarterback. It's absolutely insane. Give me the Bengals here. Give me the points. Give me the better quarterback with Joe Burrow, because now I want the Bears to lose this game. And I want to lose it badly because then Matt Nagy's got to answer the question for the second week in a row. And then we'll see really how committed he is to Andy Dalton. So Bengals here. Give me the points.
And that was a quality opening win for Burrow. There's the Bengals leading that 46-yard drive in overtime to set up the game-winning field goal. Reid, did you give your pick? I'm sorry.
No, I just gave me the Bengals. And I'm with Jeff. I think Jeff tweeted this out after post-game response to Matt Nagy getting asked the question, are we going to see more Justin Fields? And he's like, the game script didn't allow for Fields to get on the field. Right. So Jeff was like, which is the right response. It's so games that you're losing means Justin Fields is not going to be in. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of BS that Matt Nagy is throwing out here. And it's so yesteryear. And again, I have to just look and move on.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And according to producer Reid, we're going to go ahead since we got about 10 minutes to go. Let's go to the Fortinet Championship. So that's our pick'em. That's our pick'em segment here. We're not always going to get through all of them, but Reid will likely get most of them right and maintain his lead over Geoff Ulrich. But who knows? Maybe he can make that Canadian comeback next week.
Wow.
All right, so guys, this is the first 46 events here over the next year. Everyone's thinking of the Ryder Cup next week. Don't do that. Don't make that major mistake, because Jon Rahm, who is not your PGA Tour Player of the Year, is in this field. The only dude, guys, on either Ryder Cup team in the field this week out in Napa. Everyone's sipping the wine, having a good time. Ulrich, I'm going to start with you because it stuck with me the other day on the sweat when you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were actually going to fade Jon Rahm, who was the heavy favorite in this field, because you're wait, what?
Slow down there, compadre. We were talking about the betting odds when I said that.
Yes.
So
yes. That's what I'm saying. You're fading him because you think his mind is already into next week with the Ryder Cup.
I'm not betting him to win for sure. But not betting him to win and not playing him in DFS is two different things. I definitely
is it though, Jeff? Is it? No, it is. It definitely is.
No, it definitely is. 1,000%.
100%. The problem with not playing John Rahm in DFS is you have a plus 300 favorite, and everybody else who you put in underneath him it's an inferior play by a magnitude that isn't reflected properly in the salary. Like Hideki Matsuyama, you still have to pay 11 for. Webb, all these guys. So I don't mind, I guess, going to Webb Simpson at 10-8 if you want to fade him, but I definitely feel like, again, you're playing 10 lineups. You should probably put Rahm in like I would rather be overweight the field in DFS on Rahm this week than underweight. Now we did get some news today. He had a stomach virus. He withdrew from the Pro-Am.
Oof.
So you're going to have to watch John. Like if you're rostering John Rahm, he's actually questionable to play. You're going to want to get up early and check the lineups before lock. So lock, I believe, a little bit later because we're on the West Coast. I think it's 8 a.m.
16 hours.
So
16 hours from now.
16 hours, dude. 16 hours, dude.
So it does throw a wrench into the plans, but I don't necessarily want to fade Rahm in DFS. I'm not betting him at any point, but no, yes.
Okay, so Jeff's doing a little something different with Rahm on the betting side compared to the DFS side. Is there a guy you're kind of taking the same approach with, Reid?
I mean, yeah, fading Rahm is, I think, easy on the betting side. I don't think we need to belabor that point.
Nope.
I mean, look, Rahm might have his Jordan flu game if that's the case here at 12-1. And if that rings true, yeah, right. I mean, like the Fortnite championship is his like playoff game. No, the Fortinet. I think there is roster construction wise, Jeff. I think there is a case to be made to getting two of these guys in the 10K range and doing a stars and scrubs approach, because when you have these type of tournaments, I think what a lot of people do is, yes, they go and they look at the familiar names, but not so much at the top. Maybe more so in like a balanced lineup, right? Because you're not going to get you're going to get casual people playing this. The sharps aren't necessarily playing a ton of golf DFS because the fall swing is usually, football takes precedent, obviously. But if that's the case, I like trying to, get in at least like a Rahm, even going Rahm Matsuyama. Like, I'm not too worried. I do think that putting does play a part. And so, yes, Matsuyama is a little shaky, but I'm confident in like these couple of these guys doing well at this type of tournament. And then what you really see, guys, is the guys in the 6 and 7K range popping up at a tournament like this. Right? We see it all the time. I think Surt Sink was $6,300 when he won, right? And last year we had a couple of guys under 7K in the top 6 in DraftKings scoring. So I'd rather get a 3 guys maybe below 7,400, and to pair them up with these 2 guys, kind of like a major type field where I want to be a little bit contrarian. Like I think Sebastian Munoz, he's my guy at $9,200. I think can really do well here, but I wouldn't be surprised if a stars and scrubs lineup wins the GPP here.
Okay, Jeff, do you agree with that here? Because, as usual, this early in the season, the field this week is rather thin, especially with big names besides John Rahm.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, it's the fall swing. We've seen this has been an event where guys have kind of popped up a little bit out of nowhere at times. And we've seen younger players get it done here as well, but kind of also like not in the favorites. So stars and scrubs, fine. There's definitely guys in the 6K range. I mean, a past winner here in Kevin Tway, Trey Mullinix, big hitters who I like targeting the big boppers off the tee here. This is a pretty driver heavy course. You've got 4 sharp par 5s. Stuart Sink, I know he's like 47, but he averaged 315 yards off the tee here last year. So targeting some of these guys who can smash it off the tee down further in the salary this week. I think there's lots of upside with them. It's a boomer bust strategy, but it's not as boomer bust as it would be in like a regular and in other events. I think this is a good week to employ that. So no, absolutely. Starting 2 guys over 10K, definitely going to be unique this week.
Yeah, I was creeping on both of your Twitter pages, and both of you do have recent articles up about some of the guys you like. So are there some closer towards the bottom? Reid, I'll start with you. Maybe some value plays here as we have just around 5 minutes left in the show.
Yeah, first guy is Brandon Hagee, 6,700. Guy's missed his last 3 cuts, or last 2 cuts, excuse me. Three of the last four, but a fifth
That's
Barracuda, right? John Deere, a T18, a Rocket Mortgage T6. But like I mentioned on the Sweat in your neck of the woods, Emerson, he placed runner-up at the Honda Classic. That is a much stronger field than the Fortinet Championship. And actually, I better stop saying that. We're trying to get a call from Fortnite. The Fortinet Championship. He's one. And the other guy that I think is grossly mispriced is good old Hudson. Hudson Swafford, the only thing he did in the playoffs is rank like first or second in approach at like the Northern Trust at the BMW. And look what he did. At $7,200, both of these guys are viable on the DFS side and on the betting side because you're getting Swafford at like plus 13,000 and Hagee is at plus 20,000 right now.
And Jeff, you like Patrick Rogers around that range?
I do. He played well in the Korn Ferry Tour playoffs. Patrick Rogers on the West Coast tends to just be a little bit more reliable. He's a really, really good POA putter. He's got really strong POA splits. He has had it throughout his whole career. Again, he went to Stanford. He almost won at Torrey Pines one year. So this is just a really good venue for him. And I think the par fives, again, you look at how recent winners, I mentioned Kevin Tway, smashed it off the tee, sink. Rogers was pretty long and pretty straight off the tee. His approach game comes and goes is what his issue is. But if he lights it up with the putter, man, this guy could absolutely get hot. I really like him. He's been playing better. I think he actually basically sunk a birdie on the last hole of the Korn Ferry playoffs to get his card. So he's coming in with confidence. Nice. He's the type of player like we already mentioned some who could just pop up at this event. Maybe even sneak out a win. So I like him at 7K. I mentioned Trey Mullinix, another player played really well in the Korn Ferry Tour playoffs at 6,600. Big hitter. But there's, Sepp Straka at 76. Reid made a really good call on Hudson Swafford. I completely, his price is really weird. You're right. And weird, I mean, it's way too low. But there's a lot of guys in the 7K range with upside this week. You can definitely double dip there.
Jeff, who's your pick to win as we wrap this thing up?
I like Matt McNeely, man, 8,600. Again, if I'm not picking Rahm, I'm not really in love with any of the other big guys. I think Zalatoris is a fine pick if you were going to pick someone from like the next five, but I'll go further down and go a little more mid-range with McNeely. He ended last season well.
All right, Reid, your Slate approved pick for this one.
Yeah, it's Sebastian Munoz. Both I think McNeely, McNeely's at plus 5,000. I think Munoz opened at plus 45. He might be a little bit lower or might be right around there. No, plus 5,000. You talk about off the tee. This guy is top third in the field in distance and in accuracy. Great with his irons. And he's like 15th in birdie or betters. He's fifth, in opportunities gained over the last, had 2 dozen rounds. This guy is someone that gets a good start and can go low. So give me Munoz.
That's a show, guys. Nice work. I had fun. I really wanted to talk more about Bryson DeChambeau, like shredding his hands and crushing two-a-days as he prepares for the Long Drive Championship. He's not preparing for the Ryder Cup. He's preparing for the
He said they're both the same.
Okay. All right. Hey, tomato. You know what I mean? Potato.
Long drive, putts and chips to it, it's, we'll see. Wedges,
long drive,
long drive.
Drive for dough, putts for Ryder Cup for nothing.
Okay, that's not how the saying goes.
At least they got Brooksy, who's all in right now.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. God,
let's end the show with the best betting advice you could possibly get. Take Europe plus 200.
That's the dumbest thing you could ever do. He's mind games. Brooksy and all these guys act like they hate each other. Mind games. Get ready, Ulrich. Why don't you just chill up there?
Garcia's going to light you up in 2 weeks,
Okay, pal. All right, go for a hike. Go do something. 6 o'clock Vikings at the Browns. That's the next of 3 Madisons coming up here. Everybody. Okay. Toodaloo. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Evan, behind the scenes. See ya.